Hey there, everybody. New faces, new game. We've got 3 more games coming to your screen. First up on the docket is CHAWK IT versus 774. And after that last game, this Group B, it's completely open. My name's Redroke, and joined with me today is CHAWK IT. CHAWK IT, when you look at this group, I think Group B, it's anybody's game now. We still got some games to go this week before everything's finalized and we know who's top 3 and who's in these play-ins. Group A, I feel like, is a little bit more solidified, but seriously, all these teams in Group B, they still have a fighting chance.
Yeah, for Group B, we've already had one team be confirmed for playoffs already. That's been the Unks, or at least at the very most play-ins. But for every other team, it's still open game for second, third, fourth, fifth, and really anything that's above 6th and 7th. Nobody wants to be in the elimination spot, which currently, I believe, has 2 other teams in here. It's kind of very squared up. It's not completely determined who's where at the moment, and that's kind of the fun thing about group so far. Whereas Group A, you already have the top teams performing how they should. Your SSG ACADs, your Makers, your Fluffy Aimers, who are winning the games that they're supposed to be winning and being quite competitive when they're playing against each other. But for Group B, teams that are supposed to be winning, that are supposed to be higher up the standings, aren't really performing up to scuff. So this is a really good chance for CHAWK IT to be in the top 3 positions, or even for 774 to get some more points and increase their standings.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our players that could be playing in this potentially upsetting in the Group B type of match. CHAWK IT is the first team up, and for me, I always keep my eye on HUD. He has been performing so far through XGS. I'm curious, do you have a certain player that's grabbing your eye?
No, not really. To be fair, for CHAWK IT, I know all of these players. I've seen them play in and around T3. There's nobody who's really surprising me all too much with the way that they're performing this season. I expect them to be a team that's middle of the barrel, and so far they've been quite competitive in Group B, but they still have been performing how they're supposed to be performing. I expect them to make play-ins at the very least, and if they make playoffs, that would be extremely good for them. You have players like Shmeek and Spider, who are really good individual players and who can carry their team when they really need them to. And then for Nylek, somebody who's slightly newer than the rest of them but still has a ton of experience around T3, I feel like he's been performing quite well as well.
Yeah, CHAWK IT, they're also coming off some massive wins, both overtime. They beat Unks, who, they're top of their group, and they also defeated Wildcard Aces, who we just saw beat Thrive. Let's go ahead and also take a look at 774, who's been having a much more rough time of things. I was able to see them beat Wildcard on Playday 2, and really for me, Ticey was the big player in that match, but there were some internet problems for Wildcard Aces in that game. So really, some of these games have been close. We haven't seen a 7-3, a 7-2 from 7-7-4. They've been playing all these games very neck and neck, but still, it's now or never with 3 days remaining.
Yep, and for 774, I believe because they actually, I can't remember if they won or lost yesterday. Yeah, no, they lost against Aerial Rise yesterday, putting them further down inside of Group B, meaning that they're just one of 2 teams in the bottom 2 spots of Group B, meaning that at any point towards the end of the season, if they're still there, they're going to be eliminated from Group B. And the second team to be just above them in 6th spot, because they're at the bottom of the barrel of Group B, is Carnico. So a win here today, again, would boost their standings up quite a bit just because of how close Group B is. And this is a good opportunity for them to at least have a more even matchup compared to their game against Aerial Rise just yesterday.
Let's go ahead and take a look at our maps, but I would say this is a much needed win for these guys, because if you lose, you're sitting at 3 points. You pretty much have to win against Thrive in your last game tomorrow. And we're going to be heading to Border for this potentially last type of dance for 774. It's not mathematically impossible if they lose today, but you have to win in regulation time and hope some other results kind of fall your way. So yeah, this is a massive one, and there's obviously now an opportunity with the momentum from CHAWK IT and that most recent result that we just saw. And Border is going to be the map that's going to be deciding it.
Yep, Border for both of these teams is statistically a neutral map for both of them. They both have aggressive styles, and it favors them both to actually play this map, and it gives 774 again an opportunity to play up against an easier opponent compared to Aerial Rise, who they played against yesterday, lost 7-3 to. That game wasn't really close. now you have an opportunity to make things slightly closer. But yes, they do need a regulation win here today, because today and tomorrow are their last playdays here in Xenon, the last 2 opportunities that they will have in order to garner points for the season, whether that be an OT loss or an actual win to put them forward in the standings. So they need to be competitive here today to at least get a win in order to improve their actual outlook towards play-ins, because maybe even a direct playoff spot is too far gone.
Yeah, I think play-ins would be the only realistic possibility. Currently, the number 3 team, Ariel Rise, sitting at 6 points. If they wanted to get up to third, which I don't think is possible, they would have to get all 6 points with a win today and a win tomorrow. I mean, we're really only looking at a 5th seed. Wildcard's sitting at 5, and you never know. They can lose to anybody. They can beat anybody. And I mentioned earlier, Wildcard's game against 774, they lost it on a clubhouse. I think it was like 7-5. And there was a lot of internet issues with players kind of DCing and coming back, and some of the ping.
Yeah.
And you have to keep in mind also, the 774 team is Canadian. So these servers might not always favor them, or maybe their opponent as well.
Yeah. And speaking of Wildcard Aces, they actually did win today against Thrive, which is very surprising. They hand Thrive their first loss of the season.
Yeah, that was wild.
In regulation on Skyscraper. Yeah. So that loss, like you mentioned earlier, completely shakes things up in Group B, whereas Group A, it kind of feels like everything is sealed, everything is already determined because of how well the former Element 3 teams have been playing so far in Group A.
Well, our first band's going to be Monty. CHAWK IT is the first team up now, 774 for the Snake. And I mean, how much work is 774 putting in? How much hope is there now in this camp? I think is going to be the real question. Is the morale high, or is it this sort of feeling of, you know what? There's a very low statistical chance that we make it through, so why even bother? But I think they've caused some chaos throughout some of these games, and I think if they can string it together, they can definitely do it. And Border is a map where anything can really happen.
Yeah, and hopefully they don't play like they don't care. I would imagine most teams coming into each and every game day in T3, especially because of how passionate some of the players are going to try their hardest no matter what the stakes are in the game. And for 774, the stakes are in this game for them because of how close Group B is. We cannot stress this enough. It's very, very high. So they really do need to perform here today. And as the bans commence, nothing too surprising. Monty being banned, you know, there's nothing more you can say about that. And then followed up by the Ying, the Valkyrie, and the Izami.
Very
Izami
standard.
is a pretty common ban on this map of Border, especially for extensive security holes, or even extending up top when you're defending one of the first floor sites, because you want to block as many of the exterior and long angles as much as you can. So yeah, nothing too surprising here for the ban phase.
If CHAWK IT were to lose this game, that would make it very dangerous as they head into their Carnico game tomorrow, which would also be their final game. So there's a lot of pressure on them to not only just win and put them in a good spot, but a loss would put them all to play for, as Carnico sits right below them. That'd be a very thrilling final game tomorrow for them. But nonetheless, this could potentially be 774's last opportunity to make it in. Mathematically speaking, it pretty much is. CHAWK IT, however, after that final form loss, they now potentially have a way to get into the top 3. Everything is shaking up on Group B. Will it crumble anymore? To Border we go. CHAWK IT on the defense. 774 begin on the attack. Uh-oh. And Tristan's already in sight. He's just flying through. I mean, we played 30 seconds, and he's just inside of sight. Gets another kill. Trist already on a double. CHAWK IT, their defense has collapsed, but as I say that, Trist will be traded out. Ticey's also going to get a kill, so it remains in favor of 774. A lot to do for Smink and Spida. It looks like Smink is going to retreat to lower floors and try to play the vert control type of plays. But Ticey's going to find Spider, and it's all down to Smink, and found out. Quick round for 774. And they mean business. I mean, I brought it up. What's the mentality going to be like? How's the play style going to be? Very aggressive and CHAWK IT out. I mean, they got punished with that spawn peak.
They got punished with the spawn peak, but that's not even what lost them the round. They just left a big gap in opening. Nobody's playing behind the half wall or inside of sight for CHAWK IT. And so 774 with a lot of good info, not only throughout the early round, but towards the end of the round even, figured out, hey, look, I could just walk in through lockers and then hold a cutoff angle by the I believe that's Africa, where Triss was eventually like hiding next to, which is that little half wall, that little bar. And he just kind of like cut off a lot of rotations and caused a lot of chaos inside of the site there for 774. And Rocket couldn't really recover from that round just because of the heavy man deficit. Leaving that huge gap in locker proved to be such a big deal for them, despite having like a full set of trap operators in their lineup.
I mean, they left that wall completely soft and they just
Yeah.
ash charged it, ran through, and then you said it, nobody was even in sight, let alone covering that wall at all. And it was just easily walked in through, and then they had to retake their own site within 10 seconds, 20 seconds. But CHAWK IT, they're going to go right on back upstairs, and what's the adjustment going to be like? I'd imagine Gekyu, if he is going to spawn peek, he's going to try something different this time around.
I also brought the mirror so they can have more info towards the lockers balcony position, but overall, like, it's gonna be having an active body just inside of the site to deny that entry from coming in, or just even having more trap operators. Again, they bring the Legion, they bring the Frost this time around, but it seems like for 774, they're going for a completely different take, switching it up to go more east side to further blindside CHAWK IT, who the only player they have on site is Gekdu, and he doesn't really have any explosives to throw up the top to disrupt the direct take towards Archives if 774 were to go for that.
I think Zach's already lost all of his Twitch drones, and I'm not sure how much value he also got out of that. He's got none in his pocket, and I saw at least one shot. So that might be a dangerous thing for 774 in the long run. And they also didn't bring that Ash, which was the big thing that got them in the site. But however, Gekyu, once again, being the first pick, and it's Quaz who's able to find his opponent. And now, what is the mentality for CHAWK IT as they're going to try and hold down? And it looks like there's a lot of pressure coming from this east side. They still have 5 players out there just going to try and push in. And here comes the first Dokkaebi call.
Mirror window as well, kind of disrupting this direct take for 774, who kind of find themselves very halted, and lack of info gives Chris life away, and so the Blitz is just kind of stuck here by radio window. Spider finds a second because 774 keep giving him isolated picks, and they're not really working together to clear him out.
Now it's all down to Ticey, and he's going to drop. That one, I mean, flipped on its head. It seems like 774 kind of jumped the gun a little bit early. Ooh, barely saw the edge of his opponent. Now it's going to be tied up. That was a good bounce back run from CHAWK IT. But 774, they're showing strong in the opening pick. I think if Gekyu maybe just plays a little bit more aware of what's happening around him, CHAWK IT can easily slow this one down.
Yeah. And another thing, you mentioned the Ash dying and not being picked in a round by 774, and I think that was one of the main reasons why that Archives push was slowed down, because they didn't have the Ash to deal with the mirror window that's between the lockers and Archives, staring straight at the Archives doorway, looking towards that default plant spot. 774 can't go for the direct plant that they wanted to, so they had to clear more space, but they didn't have the information necessary to clear Spider off of triple wall, and so that's why you have him having that really fantastic individual performance, a 4K, and then shutting out the round for 774, who didn't really take the time to slow down and work together to ensure that the Blitz could have a good entry towards the offensive side.
Yeah, and then they lost their Twitch drones, and maybe that's what they were banking on, excuse me, to get rid of those Miras. Yeah, it just kind of crumbled after they were able to find Gekyu. They didn't have great information. They sent the Blitz in a little maybe blindly and isolated him in that sense. And now we're going to be heading down to the first floor. Is that going to give an opening for 774 as now multiple floors are going to really start to come and play for this defense?
Seems like, as well, 774 wanting to work towards the detention side, opening up the main wall, and it pushes Spider off just a little bit. It gives CHAWK IT, or 774 rather, a good entry point, starting with Ticey stepping into the Legion mine. But because he stepped in it, that gives some info that the Buck was just trying to lurk in detention, and that the Legion's position, now with the hatch being open above him, is compromised.
Ticey trying to be the front player once again for 774. However, it's another Legion mine he's going to step into. Got to get that one removed and does so. So that Spider has a little bit of information here of what's happening. But now it's Geku's turn to get revenge as he takes down Quaz and gets first blood going the way of CHAWK IT. So now it's defense on top. Now, can they hold upon their advantage? Well, as I say that, Zach is going to get the trade. They do roughly know where Ticey is over towards supply room. Can they maybe flush him out? There's all sorts of holes on these walls, so I think it's information given away. Spider capitalizes on that said information. Ooh, a nice flick there onto Coco. Now it's a 4v2, a minute 30 on the clock. However, as I say, that Schmink falls in the background, so a little bit more doable for 774. Zach, he is still trying to worry about Spider. They're going to finally shut him down, bringing this to an even man count. Here comes some drone work from Triss. They're going to let this one breathe and try and figure out where these last two are.
Gonna take drone work, but at the moment, nobody here from 774 is on a drone, so I'm expecting that they may have the info necessary in order to encounter the last two players alive. Diffuser's picked up, it's by the customs area, and the player up top is gonna have to be pretty good on his vertical work in order to try and deny any rotations that might come inside of the site. But with Diffuser on the other side of the map, that means that Zach is just going to have to run his way across and see if he can find an angle inside of sight. At the moment, 774 are just kind of standing very still.
Yeah, there was a red ping on site, and I think it gave some information towards Triss, and he sent a ram that direction, but still, bunkered down is HUD and Nylik. Still no real information, and Triss has so much responsibility to try and uncover where these players are, and it looks like Zach is actually going to do so as well. The drone is giving out lots of position. Here comes the stun. Here comes the execute. 20 seconds now on the clock. Triss finds one. Was that the player that they had on the drone? I think HUD was the guy that they actually found, and now he's going to be knocked onto the floor. So much pressure. He is on his back, just awaiting the pressure to come through. But the C4 makes this doable. Zach on 54 HP. The pistol swing and HUD from the depths of despair and death from below. HUD uses the C4 and uses that to catch out the last player as well. Wow, what a clutch round to get that defense going. And now 774, they put themselves in such good positions in these last two rounds. That one's a very difficult pill to swallow.
And honestly, throughout that whole round, 774 never really did a good job of clearing any of the utility towards the site and around it. Like, Legion Mine after Legion Mine catching the Buck off guard inside of the tension and slowing down his entry engagement inside of customs, and it allowed Spider to get a lot of info in that position, and he still had consistent info up until the Buck's death. Up until the Buck's death. And then even in that last few minutes where CHAWK IT were trying to deal with some of the castle barricades, they were only trying to melee it. They never fully cleared the castle barricades at all in that whole round, meaning that their push was just straight through a doorway and like a hole in a wall. And it was a nice 1v2 clutch from CHAWK IT, but 774 had poor utility management throughout that whole entire round and never cleared a single thing to make everything easier towards the later stages of it.
I talked about HUD being my player in the pregame to watch out for, and then he goes and does that massive 1v2 clutch. With the information was given too. They knew where he was,
yeah, they had
and he couldn't escape. He couldn't rotate. The dude was stuck behind a desk as if it was like an earthquake drill at a local elementary school, and he just arose from the rumble. Massive round from CHAWK IT. Now, what can 774 do to the adjustment type thing? We're seeing a lot of different looks from these guys. No round is the same, but this is going to be the first round where we don't see the blitz.
First round where we don't see the blitz, and not the first round that we haven't seen the Twitch neither, so that should be easy to use since, well, they do have a mute here, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It's gonna help them clear more of the map, though, when it comes to the utility management. Again, the Legion Mine is giving them a really big issue in the last round, but they're still going to have some issues with trying to get past bandit batteries that exist on the locker's wall when they're clearing the second floor because, well, they can't get the Twitch drones past the mute jammers, but they also don't have any MPs, and they can't just walk in and establish vertical angles because they'll be walking straight into sight.
And there might have been a little gap between the Twitch drones there. I'm not sure. I think I just saw like a flash frame of a Twitch drone kind of walking in. But so who else is walking in? It's Quaz. He's going to get another kill to his name. That's his second one. Oh, and he's just feeling it right now. What are you doing on the floor, Geku? Well, you can stay there. It's a 5v3 for 774. And they're Dokkaebi calling. They're trying to get every single bit of information. Finally, someone's going to take down Quasic Smink, who's going to get onto that one. Nihiluk falls to his right. Smink, he's being put under a lot of pressure. And that player towards 90 is going to make him fall. And it's HUD. This is much more difficult than a 1v2. It's a 1v4 this time around. Where is Triss? Is he in sight? Doesn't really matter. That 90 angle, that's cut down everything. Zach gets another kill. And it's going to be tied up here, 7-7-4, bringing this one back. But I feel like there's a lot, especially that last round of that 1v2, or 7-7-4, they should feel like they should have a lead.
Yeah, and honestly, like I previously said, for round 3, if they just had better utility management, maybe, especially clearing the castle barricades on the Teller's window, maybe they could have actually won that round, and help, like, put HUD in a more troubling position. But in that last round, what really went well from them was the fact that they just were able to isolate a lot of the players on the second floor. QWAS got 2 1v1 engagements with no immediate trade, even from the Wamai sitting in Archives. He had nobody to trade him out neither when he was trying to quickly trade out QWAS inside of Fountain. And so it was not only a good mixture of drone work from 774 to help QWAS walk in, but they also threw flashes over the top of the table to help make that gunfight easier onto the Fountain player. So it was a great clear from 774 and clearly improving on the utility management that they had in the previous round. Now going into the next, we will be playing second floor again for CHAWK IT, who lost it, then won it again, but mainly lost it because they had nobody here on site. But the mirror gave a lot of big issues to 774, especially when they were trying to go for that direct take on side of the archive site, despite getting the opening pick.
Tied up, heading into round 5. I want to see some more 774 fans in the chat. The first day, we had loads of French-speaking Quebec 774 fans. This time around, it's all English. So if you speak French, I want to see it typed in French. Get the 774 fans rolling, bro. They showed up on game 1 for 774, and it's do or die this time around here in Group B if they want to try and get to the play-in. 774, they're trying. Oh, Blitz is right back on out. They're also going to bring an Ace Habana and a Twitch. The Twitch, I'd imagine, same thing. Go and get that Mira. But this is a much slower round than we've seen previously on the site.
Yeah, this time it looks like CHAWK IT are playing further back. They aren't going for the spawn peak like they did in the very first round, and it's QWAS to still get the pick despite how unaggressive CHAWK IT have been. So, good on 774 to get rid of the Warden of all things, a direct counter to the Blitz, and they've completely kind of shook up things over by the Office's side.
Yeah, the Blitz counter is gone, and we haven't really seen Coco step into this game. I mean, 0-3, that should maybe help my point a little bit. Whoa, wait a second. Coco gets taken down. However, Quaz is there for the trade, leading the team at 5-3 alongside Trist. Still, the life advantage is in favor of 7-4, and this is a big breach to get open because you have such a long sight line, and Ticey immediately shows that in point, gets a pick on the Nihiluk. Do they know who these last two players are? Ticey does step on a Legion mine. He's going to be able to walk that one off. And here comes the execute on towards site. Schmink feeling a lot of pressure over by those armory lockers. Finds one. Quaz going to be shut down. All now left up to Zach. And Ticey as HUD also finds Triss. Now brought down to a 2v2. HUD going to get killed. Ticey and Zach clutch the round. And this top site has been very difficult for CHAWK IT. 774 find another route to victory upstairs.
And honestly, I'm not too sure what happened in that whole entire round because, like, CHAWK IT, again, just decide to play slightly less aggressive. They don't give away the opening pick. They also shut down the Blitz when they were trying to get aggressive by the radio window. And then after that, it seemed like for CHAWK IT, maybe just giving away too many isolated picks because for the most part, whenever I've been seeing these rounds from 774 and I'm wondering, like, why have they been so successful? It's not just 774 finding gaps and then exploiting it. It's also CHAWK IT just playing, like, really far off of each other, and their trade potential for a lot of these rounds are extremely low because they're just not playing closer together, simply put, and players who are trying to get aggressive, having missed time swings, and then giving away picks to 774 is ultimately what's costing CHAWK IT a lot of these rounds. They've only lost like 3 rounds. It's costing them the 3 rounds that they've lost so far, whereas 774 are really aggressive. We've already said this, but they're very confident when taking their gunfights.
774, they've got some momentum going into this. We're going to see pretty much the same thing, but they're going to bring in a Yana and a Brava this time around. No Twitch, and I think it was an Ace that they also had. Well, Habana's going to be the only hard breacher. And the CHAWK IT's lineup looks pretty similar. Not too many changes. But still, I mean, 774, they have the recipe for success upstairs.
And seems like this time around, CHAWK IT are going to be playing it into the castle. So it's going to be up to 774 to be able to clear a lot of this utility, because on Bathrooms and Tellers, they couldn't necessarily do that. And it's what eventually costed them the 1v2 to HUD back in round number 3. So they have to hope that they can get rid of the utility, and they certainly have the tools to do it. A player down below in detention, HUD, might be going for a run out if any of the 774 players do repel towards the armory balcony. And so there looks to maybe be a lack of intel of what's happening down below.
Yeah, I think HUD is now starting to kind of vacate his position for the run out with the impact grenade. But Nylock, on the other hand, he's shutting down a lot of those Habana breach charges. And Schmink is going to find the first kill despite the Dokkaebi call coming through. Zach's going to trade that with that long angle over by the AC unit. And kills are kind of going back and forth right now. There's still a lot of time in this round. Coco is going to go close to close, up close and personal with, I can't tell who that is, over by the wall. Spider now trying to hold down Canadian wall. He's got Legion Mine to maybe help out, and he's also got Gekyu on his side. Schmink is going to try and give some covering fire, and does so successfully. Coco now 0-5, really struggling, and it's all left to Zach in a 1v4. And do they know he's here? The Mira has been popped. He's going to play this one slow, but still, a minute 20 on the clock. You probably get one, and then immediately your information's given out with that kill. And it looks like he's going to have this one for free. Not a lot of information over here for CHAWK IT. Are they going to start checking it? Deck, he's still crouching up here. He's now made his way into sight. He doesn't have the diffuser, so that's going to be the next big problem. Schmink down, 3 to go. 57 seconds. Zach playing this oh so close, waiting for somebody to over-peak their position. He's also now going to have to worry about 90 Hall. There's 2 players here. You check one. You've got multiple to deal with. I don't think he's going to read the second one. Oh, he's not going to chow. So Zach gets this one for free. He's also going to shoot the cam. He's going to start getting sandwiched. And not the ice cream sandwich that you want. It's a nail sandwich, and he is pincered to death. Gekyu with the shotgun up close and personal. Great effort from Zach. I love the patience, but, I mean, it's a 1v4 at the end of the day.
Yeah, and almost could have clutched it out because, again, CHAWK IT are playing very far away from each other. But that round goes slightly better because, again, 774 kind of get really complacent when going for that office clear. Can't necessarily clear the triple wall player. Yet again, when they're going for that aggressive east side take like they've been going for. And the reason why it might not be working is because, again, they're just not pinching him together. There's nobody on the far east, the east side door going towards the valley spawn. There was one towards the east side balcony just outside of the radio window, but other than that, like, there was no real opportunity for them to like immediately trade players out. It was, again, they just gave Spider 1v1 gunfights, and Spider is very talented. He's going to take those any day of the week and succeed. He eats those for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You cannot give this man ones, especially when he's playing on that triple wall position. So 774, if they're gonna go for that take again, by lockers and archives or by east side, then, or well, they can't because they're on defense. That's why I was so confused for a second. My bad. But,
well, they might, if it goes overtime, which is, it currently looks that way. Yeah, this. No, you're good. I was just about to say, if it goes overtime, which it's on the cards, we've got a tie game at the halfway mark. 774, they look strong. They just can't capitalize on certain things. One of the reasons why is because HUD is a clutch man. Go back to that 1v2 highlight. But still, CHAWK IT, can they find a way back into this one? 774 now on the defense. Looking at the operators, CHAWK IT's plan of attack is much different than how 774 wants to do it. But as for 774's defense, this looks a lot like what we just saw from CHAWK IT.
Yeah, plenty of trap operators. They brought the castle in this time around too. They're playing aggressively by security room, playing it much more open because they don't have the Azami available. But CHAWK IT got 2 kills towards the east side of the map. just by punishing the aggression there from 774, who kept running out towards east side, and CHAWK IT do a very good job of punishing it.
Yeah, Zach's going to need to go massive. He has been so far, but now this is a tall order to try and take the lead as it's all tied up at the beginning of their defensive round. Ticey playing upstairs. Zach as well. Everyone is kind of bunkered in, waiting for something to happen. Coco, I mean, his start to life has been very slow so far. Looks like Zach is aware of something happening. He's worried about multiple angles potentially pushing him. And right now what CHAWK is doing, they're just trying to get rid of that utility. They're getting rid of what they need to. They've got the Flores drone to do so. But they can take their time. They've got the openings. They've got the space. And Zach's just waiting.
And also, at the moment, CHAWK IT are just slowing down the pace, not only just clearing utility, but getting info in the process. That one drone forces Zach to move off of his position in break room, and it makes the east side entry a lot easier for CHAWK IT if they were just to walk in.
The Dokkaebi call is coming through. A lot of pressure is coming in now onto 7-7-4. 2 players now remain. It's Coco and Ticey as Zach falls. Like you said, he was forced to back up, and then they got the stun. All down to Coco. Almost a flawless round from CHAWK IT. Despite it not being 5 players remaining, in my opinion, that was flawless. Perfectly executed. They realized they had space and a time to maybe get that information. They force out Zach, like you mentioned. And it was just a complete execute. Great stuff from CHAWK IT. Now they take the advantage.
And like you said, better drone work in that round. Also, utility management was on point, and also when they had an opportunity to slow down the pace as well in order to ensure that they could positively close out the round, they took the time to do it, burning a running gates with the flashes, droning out the break room player, and then forcing him further back so that the Dokkaebi could just walk in top east and then go towards the opposite area and find a kill on top of that. So CHAWK IT do a really good job of, when they punish the early aggression and they do well in the early round to find 2 picks, but they also in the mid to late round show us that they can slow it down, and on top of that, close out rounds too.
Lead CHAWK IT. Can they hold on to it? 7-7-4. This looks to be a very unique type of style. You got the cap can. You have a Vigil with the Bosch G. Always love the Bosch G. You've got Legion Mine, so you got to watch where you're stepping, and your heartbeat's going to be picked up as well. 7-7-4, they have a very high pick potential type of lineup. CHAWK IT, they're going to have to be watching everywhere they go.
Only form of info that they do have is, barring the one bulletproof that they have in their lineup thanks to Ticey bringing in the Legion, is going to be QOS on the post. But the post is very important to this whole lineup. It gives you an opportunity to figure out where the push is coming from. Are they going to clear from break room over? Are they pushing in from detention to do more of a horizontal take? That's what the post is going to do for you. And so it looks like for now, still in customs and inspection, pushing off of detention because the wall has been breached. He's still going on his post scanner, figuring out where the main push is, and that gives a good opportunity for them to figure out that the main bulk of this push from CHAWK IT is going to be towards east side, with the post still in customs.
Yeah, Quaz is just walking around everywhere trying to figure out, hey, where the heck are these players from? Well, I think Zach's figured it out. He's going to get wall banged by Schmink, and now it's like, they're over there. Let's get ready over there. They're coming this way. Schmink on the Jackal might be able to get anybody else that's potentially roaming, specifically Quaz, if they know where he is. Gekyu. They know roughly where Quaz is.
They know where he is.
They've got some information. Oh, and the IQ is giving his position away. So they know exactly where he is. He's like, wait a second, he just was pinged here. Where the heck is he? But he's lying right behind that wall. Here comes some drone work. I don't know if 774 knows that there is an IQ employee giving up Quaz's position, and he is going to run for the hills all the way back to site. There has been a lot of time wasted. Nyla thinks someone's over here, so this is going to be a slow retake all the way until they finally get towards site.
Nobody able to capitalize off of that information almost immediately, so the QoS gets away, but he is being jackal tracked at the same time, thanks to them having some good info from the IQ scanner, knowing that footprints are going to be there and that they can detect the post quite early. They do get some horizontal control as well towards this first floor, and Gecko also finds a second kill up top.
Geku, massive kills. He's 4 and 5, but he does get those kills when it's really needed. Coco is going to make things a little bit easier for 774, but now you have to worry about the time. The vertical play does go the way of CHAWK IT, but 30 seconds are now on the clock. Something's going to happen now. Coco waiting from below, still has a C4. Maybe take someone's feet off if need be. 20 seconds now. Quaz has the flank. They're not aware of it. They thought he rotated back to site, and now he's just teleporting all across the map. And here comes the pitch onto the high ground. He has to relieve some pressure onto the site. Is he going to get there in time? It's now all down to Quaz. The diffuser is also coming through. Does he spot him? Yes, he does. Get the headshot. Yes, it works. But there's 2 seconds. They have to collapse onto him now. Quaz clutches on the defense. What was a 1v3 for him? All he had to do was find the diffuser. Does so. Not enough time. Tie game.
And despite having the IQ on the board and even detecting the post in the mid round, they never could get a good position or a good idea of where the post was. And also, Nilek literally looked behind him when post jumped into the room adjacent to detention. So when he jumped back in through the window, when he ran out. So I'm not too sure how Nilek just turns around after then looking at the player icon from him running back in. Maybe he thought he went through the double doors of the main lobby area. Either way, a good 1v3 clutch from QOS turns into a round win from 774, all because he played the clock correctly.
And he was making noise like Poe in the first How to Train Your Dragon, with the IQ scanner picking him up as he's using the pulse. And then he turns into the Dragon Warrior Ninja and flanks the push. I mean, they had him so lost. They had his footsteps, they had him on pulse, they had him on drone, and then somehow, I mean, in the blink of an eye, and I don't even know from an observer standpoint how he got behind everybody. And then he got upstairs on top of that and got the diffuser. That was some nifty feet work coming in, and that's gonna be a huge round for 774. Boy, this does look right now like an overtime, and if you're both of these teams, 2 points or 1 point, it's not what you want ideally. You really do need 3 points. CHAWK IT, they want to get top 3. 774, they want to see postseason. 3 points is probably going to be required for both of that.
And really, 774 need this, and they do want this. For the last 2 rounds, though, for CHAWK IT, they've been completely on top. They've had like really good info. They've been able to slow the pace down at times too, and whenever 774 have gotten aggressive, they've been able to punish it. But then when things like what happened in the last round happened, when QOS is able to just slip through the fingers of almost everybody, even that IQ, you know, it's just kind of troubling. But again, I mean, that could just have been like a slight little oversight again from Nilek, who was playing towards the detention. He was playing as the IQ, probably thought he ran through the double doors, and that's completely valid. And I didn't think of that up until I was like thinking, oh wait, he did look behind him. He saw him go back inside, and he probably thought he was going to rotate through somewhere else. Either way, that was a very good clutch from Kuwas, who, despite I think only just getting 1 kill, he had a pretty big impact throughout that whole round. He still gave good info to his team as to where the push was coming. That's why the visual was playing so aggressively in the 90 hallway, looking towards the break room doors. So 774 had a general good idea just because of good info of where the push was coming from. But again, you need other players to start winning their gunfights.
Yeah, now there's this sense of like, okay, we really can do this. The sense of belief that's in the camp of 774. They're going to go upstairs this time around. This looks a little bit different than what we saw initially. You're going to see a smoke, a fen rear. They're going to make it real difficult for anybody trying to enter in any sort of way, especially also with that Legion. This is a complete... I think they only had maybe the castle the last time around on upstairs. So I'm curious, how does CHAWK IT adapt to this defense?
Well, gonna move to bring the Brava inside of this round, 6 picking off of it. And there's still a drone inside of the map, so that's also good info from CHAWK IT to realize, hey, look, they're going to be playing more trap heavy. They brought the Fenrir this time around. Brava is a very good counter to Fenrir, even in his current state, especially in his current state where he only has 2 Fenrir mines nowadays that he can activate at a time in a round. And so, yes, very good counter and a way to work around it. Also, they've brought the Ash too to kind of get around the castle barricades, because that's really the only thing that the Ash can get around, apart from some of these softer walls that you can make a big hole into. And so it's going to be up to CHAWK IT to be able to use this utility quite effectively, because even though you have the Asher, you're very limited as to how much explosive utility you have, seeing as they didn't bring any nades or flourish drones.
Ticey hopped the hatch, and he immediately fell right in front of a drone. So CHAWK IT do know that he's there, and they're trying to cut him off from that staircase. Is Ticey going to be able to escape? Oh, he might not be able to escape, but he's sure going to take some people down before he does. And now it's going to be a 4v4. It's this hunt right now for where is Spider and... Or excuse me, where is... I forgot who even hopped the hatch now. I think it was Ticey. Yeah, so Ticey's going to drop, but the numbers right now are in favor of 774. So CHAWK IT, they're going to have to rethink some things. Geku forced to use an ace charge on the castle. And now this is a lot different than what we've seen CHAWK IT in terms of a position on how they want to attack this. 774 had the advantage, and it's Zach who's once again being in an aggressive position. And the bait comes in from below. HUD cleans up on Zach because he thought it was going to happen on the window. Even man advantage. There's still a minute 20. CHAWK IT, they're good at slowing this down and figuring out where an opening is.
Yeah, honestly, Zach just didn't really need to do that. He could have played a more passive position inside a break room, unless the castle, I think, was being aced at the time. Either way, he could have like backed off even. So CHAWK IT, again, punish the aggression there from 774, make it an even 3v3, and that puts them in a pretty decent spot, because they're even on man count. You have an opportunity to punish any more aggression from 774, but at the moment they're playing quite passively. It doesn't really seem like CHAWK IT are going to move anytime soon unless 774 force something.
Yeah, and it looks like Quas has kind of taken up Zach's mantle of holding over towards security break room. Gets shut down immediately. Great angle there from Schmink. Now, 774, they're the ones who are going to have to try and figure out a solution. 30 seconds left. CHAWK IT, you have to go. You have to start making some momentum towards this site. They don't really have a lot of presence. What's the drone works look like? How is the execute going to shake out this time around? C4 doesn't really get to where it needs to be. It clips right on top of the ceiling. Trist gets swung. Geku, man, when he's not dying in those that first blood, he is going off massively. And here's another showcase of why he does that. Coco dropped down to 3 HP, 1 and 7. Has to clutch this round. Diffuser down, 35 seconds. 2 Legion Mines. I mean, there's really no way you're going to get back into this one. The wallbang comes through from HUD. And it's CHAWK IT who are going to take the lead. We are looking at a series right now. In overtime is not the best thing. Remember that for these teams. So you really do want to end this in regulation for points.
And honestly, like, again, it's like 774, they just keep getting over aggressive at the wrong moments, and it's being punished by CHAWK IT. Like, castle running out towards east side, whether or not you know a player is down below, you know somebody's going to go walk in east side, and that somebody's also in your window, so you really have no way to escape. He immediately puts himself in a bad position. Another player who's trying to retake the mantle inside of security, when you're the smoke and you don't need to do that, decides to also die because he's peeking an incredibly tight angle that he can't even see the other guy's head from. So they just keep giving CHAWK IT these opportunities, these individual efforts, these gunfights for no reason, when you have utility that you can play behind in a late round to further waste CHAWK IT's time. Because when 774 weren't aggressing, CHAWK IT weren't moving, and they also weren't taking the initiative at times.
CHAWK IT 1 point away from pretty much securing either a win or overtime. So this is a big round for them, and this is a unique push. We've got an Amaru, a Glaz, a Lion, Deimos, and a Grim. It looks like an information game, and set it up for a smoke play and an Amaru jump. I don't know if there's anything else you really are going to see into this one. It looks to be very aggressive here, CHAWK IT.
Idea is probably to send the Amaru towards sandwich window. You have the glass for looking towards the lockers, and if they're not even going for a lockers execute, you have a really good direct take, even sending the Amarus up the same sandwich window in order to go for the direct take towards the archive site, because I mean, looking at the site right now, there's a lot of things very much open for 774 to just rush straight into and take, because they've been doing these heavy extensive plays with the player down below, so that leaves more player off of the site.
Yeah, CHAWK IT, they might have an opportunity to kind of rush in. 774, they have an extended setup. There's some players downstairs. They're trying to contest at all fronts. Will CHAWK IT make and execute? You can see Ticey down below trying to cause some havoc. I wonder what information is given away in terms of what they're running. Ticey, he might just walk right on outside, says, hey, how you doing? I'm doing just fine. Finds one. And wow, that was in front of two people that were on their phones. I mean, get off your phones. You're in the middle of a game. Anyways, that's going to be the Lion down, which is not the most crucial player to this setup. But the Amaru now sits right below the B-bomb site in server. Is that going to be the go sign?
Honestly, I think I was gonna say, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, like, I think the line is actually very important to this lineup because it keeps everybody in place to work off this rush execute that CHAWK IT are clearly trying to go for.
They've got this window. I think they're trying to figure out right now where exactly is everyone. And yeah, I mean, a Lion scan right now would probably do them wonders. So would a Grim. They're going to get one canister off, but Trish shuts him down on the rappel. And this push is starting to fall at it seems. But as I say that, HUD does find a kill, taking him to 9 kills on the map. 3v3, 50 seconds. CHAWK IT, they've been slow. This is very uncharacteristic of them, but not in a productive way this time around. They seem to be struggling to figure out how they want to do this. And yeah, I think the Lion scan, like you mentioned, is giving them a little bit more difficult. But here comes the smokes. Here comes the hatch jump. Is it going to be the plant as well immediately? Well, you got to take a gunfight. Hey, how you doing? Doing just fine. Say later, Coco. Here comes the plant. It's going down. What is Quaz going to be able to do? He's worried about this glass that's on the window. He just runs right on through. Did they shut down? Yeah, they shut down the diffuser. There's now 18 seconds left. HUD, he's going to enter on through. Both of these players are stepping on Legion mines. Quaz, he's got some time to maybe work with that Legion mine, but no! CHAWK IT. They clutch it. They send this one to map point, series point. And oh no, 774. Even if they can bring this one back to overtime, that would be, at best, what we're looking at right now is an overtime win, so 2 points on the table. And that is a tough one because they got themselves an angle into that, and then it just collapsed at the last second.
Yep, if any other team ends up getting points that's not in, like, the top 2 positions, then that means that, because, like, I think we have, like, one other group. Yeah, Group B match, which is Thrive versus the Unks, which is a first and second place matchup later on tonight. And those teams are in the top 2, so this probably doesn't really matter for the bottom part of the table here between CHAWK IT and 774. But it's very important that 774, regardless of if it's 3 full points or 2 points in OT, that they get some points today because they really need it. Any other team that's like slightly above them in a table, whether it's just by round diff or whether it's just by 1 point, if they get a single win, if they get just a single point by losing an OT, and if 774 lose today in regulation and tomorrow against Thrive, which is very likely, then their season is over. They have no play-in spot to play for, and they also have no playoff spot. So these next 2 rounds, if they can even get to the next one after this, is going to be extremely important to them.
Yeah, the 774, it's pretty much, I think, 2 points at a maximum. That's potential out of them, unless if they can cause some chaos against Thrive tomorrow in their matchup. Things are looking very, very dire with that clutch of CHAWK IT on the last round. It could potentially be 0, and then CHAWK IT is essentially almost eliminate. I don't know if it's a mathematical. I don't think it's a mathematical elimination. Nah, because Wildcard's on 5, so it wouldn't be mathematically impossible. Actually, no, because Wildcard gets more points with their win against Thrive. Yeah, I think this would be a mathematical elimination if CHAWK IT were to win this game. Yeah, there would be no way, because CHAWK IT would be on 7. Wildcard would be on... They're on 8 currently with their win against Thrive. Yeah, this would be a mathematical elimination. So they have to somehow get an overtime win. It's all to play for 774. And Ticey and Zach, they have been carrying a huge load, but still, CHAWK IT, they have just been playing technically better, especially as these rounds develop. They clutch up more often. And now there's a minute 45 on the clock, and we still have yet to see a fight. Very slow and methodical, once again, from CHAWK IT.
They got good info towards Tyc in the middle of the hallway. They take him down very, very quickly. And that's why they're probably taking it very slow, is because they're trying to get as much info as possible. And that time, they were able to close him down before he goes out to get a run out to make this round really, really competitive for 774. They try and get aggressive early on to see if they can catch CHAWK IT off guard like they've been able to do for the past 2 rounds. That doesn't work. So now what is your contingency plan to play off of? They still have players up above with the vertical being ever so present here against CHAWK IT. And if CHAWK IT doesn't have a way to take care of this or even bypass it with some smoke grenades, then the vertical can pose quite an issue to them on this horizontal take that they're doing.
A minute until elimination from playoffs for 774, unless that they can clutch up on this round. Trist, he's going to make it that much easier. He's going to find HUD, who has been the star player for CHAWK IT on 12 kills. That's also the Ram that's going to be out of play. But it looks like they're going to be going for a direct take. They've got the Ash ready, and it looks like Geku has got his Jordan stripped on. He is ready to go to the races. Quaz, he's going to be able to catch him out. They have no clue this dude's here. He's now going to be able to walk into sight, stop the plant, but no, the crossfire from Nilek shuts that one down, and missed opportunity for Quaz. Has the diffuser gone down? Yes, but there's also a knock on the Smeek, so it's the 3v3. What are you going to do in this? 774 have also had a knock. It's all down to Trist. Coco's on the floor. It's a 3v1, unless if you can maybe get your teammate back. Oh, a Capcan trap from the death. Now, Trist, does he have any information? No, it's elimination from playoffs for 774. CHAWK IT. They might just do it. Finish inside the top 3. It's not done yet. Wildcard Aces also got that round. It is getting tight over towards the top end of the table. But it looks like 7th place for 774. They could still technically get 6th place, but yeah, tough one there for 774. Beautiful clutch, and as that game went on, it just went more and more the way of CHAWK IT.
Yeah, and honestly, it just came down to CHAWK IT punishing the aggression from 774 time and time again. There were even good opportunity for 774 to be able to close out a couple of the rounds. Not round 1, I think it was round 2 when they got the opening pick, but then they started to give up isolated picks to Spider. Then in that one round where they were defending second floor, one of the many times that they were doing it, still getting aggressive despite having like a 3v3 and having opportunities to back off from their extended hold and not give up any isolated picks to CHAWK IT whenever they clutched out that 3v3 a couple rounds ago. It just kept happening over and over again where 774 overstepped their boundaries, CHAWK IT put them in their place, and 774 never quite learned their lesson.
Folks, we've still got more series to come. We're going to be taking a look at Makers in final form, and that's not going to be as straightforward, I think, as people might expect it to be. We're going to be taking a trip to Group A before we conclude with our last game, Thrive versus Unks. 2 more games to go. Don't go anywhere. It's the grind time, the business end of XGS. More to come. Stay tuned.
Put you in the driver's seat.